Morning, everybody. Sorry for the horrible voice, but yeah, we're still here. So it's been a long 5 days. I got a virus from my daughter that then turned into pneumonia, and then from my other daughter, she gave me an eye infection. So having a blast here. Um, anyway, doing our thing. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and I know the sound of my voice normally isn't that great, but this one's even more irritating. So we're going to go kind of short today. And we will still have boot camp. I will be there for my students having boot camp. So wanted to make sure we're doing that. But wanted to talk about rents. And the reason I want to talk about rents is because you see it all over the news. Rents are down, rents are down, rents are down. They're really not. They're actually down in specific metros, in A class properties, A plus class new properties. It's because, their prospectus and what they expected to get for rents, if you build it, they will come. And if you build it, you can get the highest rent in history. That's just not how this game works. Everybody gets pie in the sky eyes. Everybody looks at it and says, look at this investment deal. They're building in 5% ARR year over year. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You're not going to get a 5% every single year. So while that's a total joke, investors that have been doing this for a long time recognize that. Now, what I will tell you is that my strategy over the last 3 years has largely been flawless. What that strategy is, if you're new to the channel, I'm Lumberjack Landlord. I have 145 units now, 51 buildings, and we've got about $1.5 million under rehab construction right now, including our jail project. But what's really interesting kind of about this whole process has been the fact that my strategy of buying undervalued assets has been working flawlessly. And for those of you who say, well, yeah, that's 2 years ago. No, it was actually 2 weeks ago. That was the last time I closed on a deal. I closed on a deal that at 5% financing, seller-based financing, only 10% down. But on top of that, rents, there were at least 40% under market. So how do you find those deals? Number one, you network. Number two, you have everybody understand what your buy box is. You understand what your rent box is so you can know what to pay for a property. But talking to a couple new people every single week, expanding your horizons. I made a contact this week that will probably help me make millions of dollars in the next 10 years. She's a fantastic agent, knows her stuff cold, is really well connected, and she'll help bring off-market deals because she knows that we're a player and she knows we can close. So the thing that you need to look at is understanding that sure, you can find deals on MLS like Dion does. Sure, you don't need 100 deals. That's the big mistake that a lot of people make is, I need 20 deals. No, you don't. You need one. You just need one. And the best part is that there's still great deals to be found. Is it easy? No, because if it were easy, everybody would do it. Is there a difference? If you like sports, Michael Jordan played basketball. So did D. Brown. Okay. The similarities stop there. They stop there. They both play basketball. Similarities stop there, right? There's different levels of success that you're going to find in this business. And what that success ends up being is largely on you. What are you doing? What are you doing to make it better? Who are you finding? Who are the new contacts that you're creating? There's a ton of deals out there. A lot of wholesalers are now having to market to that many more people to get the next deal in. So even a lot of wholesalers are now really struggling too. And again, its transactions are still down. But what's interesting? In almost every market across the country, median minus home price to median minus houses are selling in days still. Multiple offers. I just heard a complaint from somebody saying that they put 7 offers in, $500,000 homes, 7 offers. Their highest was 12%. 12% over the asking price, and they still didn't get the property. I've always talked about real estate markets being hyperlocal. They are. Generally speaking, the national news is something to generally be aware of. But don't let that dictate the story, because that's not the story. You know, in Fresno, pricing went down 70% in the crash. In New Hampshire, it was more like 20 or 30% tops. We were below the national average. You know, the national average over a 5-year period was 28.7%, I believe, over a 5-year period. Well, that means that you had a bunch of areas that declined less than 28.7%. You had some that went at 60 and 70. So what does that mean? After you stick it in a bowl, you mix it all up together, you could be in one of those markets that actually doesn't go down. One of the things I love about Millennial Mike's strategy, do you really think that Gary, Indiana is going to get less expensive? Like, Happy Meals are more expensive in Chicago than a house in Gary. And that's not an insult to Mike. Mike's done an amazing job building a portfolio that's heavy cash producing. Good for him. But do you think that market's going to correct 20, 30, 40%? No way. Not so long as there are renters. Not so long as there are people trying to rent a place. Some goofball on my channel actually wrote, the 3x income is ridiculous. If I had 3x the income, I'd buy a house. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have the down payment. So what I would tell you is, this is why we watch the rent box. This is why we build a rent box. The rent box is to keep us informed more than anybody else what the rents are in the market. They largely don't track these things. And so there's Rent-A-Meter and things like that are months old. When you have a fast moving market for rents, yeah, that thing gets behind very quickly. It's still behind now. In most places, it's inaccurate. And so that's where I took the idea of, hey, Mike Zuber from One Rental at a Time uses a buy box. I always did things backwards. I looked at it and I was like, I didn't really care what I was buying it for. I cared much more what my rents were going to be when I owned it. And so I was always looking at, what are my rents minus what's my cost of acquisition? And so I was always working it backwards. So that's worked for me really well. Now I continue to buy assets in this market. I continue to buy assets at market price. But if they make sense, if you have a path to profitability, and this isn't a 2-year path. This is I looked at it now, this building at 5% down, 10% down, 5% money. It makes about $400 a month. And, $400 a month, times 12, 4,800. So call it $5,000. And the number was $75,000 down. Yeah. So it makes, about 7%. So not a great number. However, it was marketed so poorly that everybody wanted to use it as a 2-bedroom, even though they're 3 bedrooms. So now these 3-bedroom units aren't worth $1,600 or $1,700. They're worth $22,000. And when I redo them, $10,000, $15,000 a piece, when people move out, they'll be worth $26,000 pretty easily. That building will be doing over $10,000 a month on a $4,800 a month nut. That will double my money. Now, is it going to do that in 3 months? Nope. It'll take probably about a year. However, I didn't buy a property that loses me money every single month. I still make money. The driver here is understanding what the rents are that they're getting, because that's what helps drive the price. It doesn't help drive the price on a non-commercial property when it comes to an appraisal. Appraisals for 4 units and under are largely based on comps. Appraisals on over 4 units is largely based on cash, on income, and what the actual rents minus expenses are. However, when you look at that model, what do I care about? I don't care about the comp if the bank is writing the note I have to, because there's going to be an appraisal. However, if I'm getting seller financing, I don't really have to care what the appraisal is. All I have to care about is, what is the thing going to actually cash flow for me? And how fast can I get it there? I think within 90 to 120 days, we'll have one of those units, instead of doing $1150 a month, $1150, it will do $2,500. We just did this with a building that we acquired. It was a duplex. It was doing $1,200 on the top floor. It was doing $1,350 on the bottom floor. We worked with both tenants because they weren't happy there. We didn't really like them. We didn't think they were very good tenants. They were always late and they always had excuses. And they just were brutal on the units. We went in and rehabbed the top one. We took that from $1,200 to $2,780 a month. $2,780. The bottom unit we took from that 13, I think $1,350 was the actual number. That was the $1,350, and that unit re-rented last month for $3,380. So now that building makes over $6,000 a month, and when I bought it, it only made $2,600, $2,550. So we've effectively more than doubled what we make on that property. Now, how is that all driven? Everybody that was looking at it was looking at what the rents were and what the price was and what they could afford to pay based on what the rents were. That's fine, but there can be value add more than just what I'm doing to rehab a property. We did rehab. We spent about $20,000. And if you've done the math, I paid myself back in under 6 months. I don't know of anybody that would not do a deal that wouldn't pay them back in under 6 months, maybe even a year or 2 years. Of course they would do it. So what I would tell you is, keep an eye on your rents, keep an eye on the market of those rents, and don't believe the headlines. Just because the newest development went out at $2,900 for a 2-bedroom, and now they're at $2,500, or they're giving up a free deposit, or it's a $99 deposit to move in, wouldn't sweat it. I wouldn't sweat it. Look at your asset. There are going to be people in those A-class properties that trade down. And so long as you have a nice, clean, upgraded unit that's in a decent area, I have buildings. I have a dozen buildings that are within 5 blocks of one of these types of buildings. I'm seeing a ton of their tenants apply to my places. Now I'm getting tenants with the high 7s credit scores with 6-figure jobs, and they're applying because they're happy to live in my place that is, you guessed it, about $800 a month rent less. They'd rather save, $10,000 this year living in one of my buildings than spend the extra 10 grand to live in that place. I give them the same location and a better experience because they don't have to fight for a parking spot. So that's one of the things I always want to share with you guys is my actual story. What's going on? Rents, are they actually going up? What was really funny was I read a bunch of articles this week before I couldn't see out of my eye. And what was really interesting was every single one was rents are down, rents are down, rents are down, rents are down. And you know what the next to last paragraph was? Rents are up. Yeah. Rents are up nationally a little, almost 1%. They're a little over, I think just under half actually. So the idiot lead is rents are going down. In some markets they are. In brand new properties where there was overbuilding, they are. In most markets, rents are still going up. And the proof of that is that nationally, rents are still up. So I'm not going to go too long today. As you can imagine, reading questions with one eye is tough, especially with sunglasses on. But I'm going to get through some of these questions, see how well I can do with getting through some of these questions, because I can't really see with these glasses. These glasses are absolutely horrible for this project. So I will be changing it up for my students. But yeah, actually, I don't think I'm going to be able to get through the questions today because I literally can't see them with these glasses. But I appreciate you guys spending some time with me today. As I said, have pneumonia and an eye that I can't see out of, but I wasn't going to miss this. Look forward to spending time with you guys every week, but consider that this week as you look at your business, the health of your business. And I will see you guys. If you're in the boot camp, I'll see you there at 1:00 today. And if you're not, I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys all have a fantastic week, and appreciate you guys coming to hang out, and look forward to the next one. Talk soon, everybody.